Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Cronkite Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. But tonight we talking dirty politricks. It's what it is, man. It's dirty politricks tonight. I got my man Donovan in the building. My man Chuck Marler in the building. And I am the 5-star general. It's dirty politricks where we expose the dirty aspects of politricks from the top to the bottom, front, back, and side to side. Let's get to it, man. Say, man, I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. But on Wednesday nights, we're going to start doing a segment called Dirty Politricks. We were doing it on Saturdays, but we want to do it during the week where we got all of y'all attention, because we know on Saturdays, you probably at the bar doing what you do, drinking them cold Bud Lights. So, I might drink me one tonight on Dirty Politricks. You never know, an old school Miller Lite. But tonight we're going to talk about Gloria Palmer. We're going to talk about a certified ballot harvester. It's been proven, and we're going to break her down to the lowest common denominator and expose this lady for who she truly is. Now, I know in our world nowadays, people want to say that there's no ballot harvesting, there's no cheating in elections. That's a lie. Not in Harris County. In Harris County, they cheat in elections. It's been proven. So if you are a fan of cheating in elections, this may not be a show for you. But if you really want to sit back and you want to learn the game and you want to find out who's the dirty ones, you need to tune in every Wednesday night. Of course, you know the recovering Democrat, my man Donovan Sadiq. For those doing the regular segments during the week, the guy up to my right is my good friend Chuck Marler, former FBI private investigator, man with a lot of knowledge that has gone around and has really, really shocked the state of Texas with the information that he has secured and with the people that he's talked to. Chuck, before we start, man, give people a little background on you, because they're going to get to know you during the weeks now, and that way they can become familiar with y'all. But remember, if he good with 5-star, he good with y'all.
Yeah, I grew up in Louisiana, played ball at Louisiana Tech, and I started with the FBI in 1992, and I did undercover surveillance work for the FBI, and I became a private investigator in 2008, and I've worked all kinds of cases. Lately, I've been back in 2019. I was helping with the Tony Busby campaign, and I thought some of the numbers were kind of odd when the election started. And so I had talked to numerous people, and a couple of people informed me that they said, well, they were playing the game on you, or on Busby, and that's how they beat him with the absentee ballots. Before the race even started, they had already jumped ahead by, thousands and thousands of votes. And so I started digging into what that was, and I've been able to prove what they've been doing, and I've slowly been gathering up the individuals doing it. So it's a long process. They've been doing it for decades.
It's a very long process, a very tedious process. You have to be very organized in order to pull it off. So I need you guys tonight to pay attention. If you have questions, ask your questions. We'll ask Chuck, and we'll go over this. One of the people that you found in Harris County that seemed to have a history of ballot harvesting, and explain to them exactly what ballot harvesting is, Chuck.
So ballot harvesting, they like to conflate it with legal parts of it, so they can match the illegal activity that's going on. In other words, if you're going to pay somebody to do something illegal in an election, you want to have plausible deniability to be able to say, well, they were just handing out push cards, or they were knocking on a few doors. But what they're actually doing is they're going out and finding out where people are not voting, where dead people used to live, and they're registering to get them an absentee ballot. They're intercepting the absentee ballot, filling them out stacks upon stacks for their preferred candidate. And when I say preferred, it's whoever pays. So, you know, if I paid 5 times as much, they would probably vote for the candidates I wanted. Okay. So it's a crooked system. It's not a Democrat versus Republican system. It's a system where they figured out how to game it. And so it doesn't just happen in the general election. So this isn't where, okay, well, you know, I'm a Democrat, so I like that this happens because it helps the Democratic Party. No, they do it in the primary as well. So in other words, if you have trouble in your neighborhood and you would like things to change, but somebody's been there 35 years, you're not moving them out because they're getting a 5 to 10% cheat on the vote in the primary and the general election.
So to let them know how important what ballot harvesting is, in some districts, especially in the primaries or even off years, you may have a district that doesn't have a lot of people that vote. So if somebody can swing 5,000 illegal ballots, that can turn a whole election.
Yes.
It can kill a whole election. And if y'all have been watching, a lot of our elections are over after early ballots and mail-in ballots come in. Doesn't matter what happened on the ground. Doesn't matter what happened when people went to the poll. If somebody got a 30% gap, after that comes in, that election is over. They can't recover from that. So, you know, it has happened to a lot of us in this game. It has happened to a lot of us. Now, one of these ballot harvesters that you were able to identify, Chuck,
yes.
Her name is Gloria Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give the people a little background on Miss Gloria Palmer?
So Miss Gloria Palmer, and you've got a picture of her with that hat on.
Yeah, I'll pull it up for you.
Let's see. She she's been convicted. She got convicted in 1997 for forgery. Okay. She is been working for several, when I say several, I mean, you know, dozens upon dozens of campaigns. You know, she gets paid sometimes through the campaign and they file it. Sometimes she's getting paid under the table. Okay. Sometimes both. Why would you hire somebody that's a convicted forger to help you go out and get ballots signed by individuals that don't show up to the poll, but supposedly vote from their house? It's because you want somebody that can help you forge signatures, can help you cheat, and more than likely will not talk about it.
Okay, Chuck. So let me ask you a question, and Donovan, you can jump in whenever you get ready. How were you able to prove that Gloria was forging signatures on these ballots, these official federal documentation, as far as I know? How were you able to prove this, Chuck?
Okay. So it goes federal and state depending on the election. So the mistake that a lot of these criminals are making is they're covering both sides, because they're doing it in the general election, you know, for senator and president. So not just district people in their district. So if you'll, Gary, there's a one that you have that is this right here, which is the outside of an envelope.
Okay, hold on.
Let me find that one.
Would that be this?
Oh, keep going. Let's see that one right there. Go back. All right, so that right there, you can see up at the top, it says Gloria Palmer. That's the return address. Okay. Why she put her return address on there, I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, she puts her name, her return address on there. All right. Inside that was lots, you know, stacks of requests for absentee ballots.
About how many, Chuck?
I don't know the exact number. Colleen Vera would be able to tell you a lot about the exact number.
Well, I know when I went to pick up my early ballots, they only give you like 50 at a time.
Yeah, that would be my guess, is that it was about 50.
Okay.
Okay, but granted, this isn't, she just sends in 50. This is at a time 50. So in other words, she does more than 50. You can't do more than 50 at a time when you pick stuff up. So you have to have a bunch of people that work for you, and you do this organized as a large group. And this was February of 2020 that she mailed in. Now, these are supposedly people that she's, out of the goodness of her heart, is helping to vote that can't make it to the polls. Well, the only problem is, out of the goodness of her heart, she was helping dead people vote, some that had been dead for a decade, and she was helping people vote that didn't even live in the county. And so obviously we don't have enough manpower to go after every one of these, but what we do is we start methodically going through sections at a time. And so I got audio recordings of conversations I had with adult children whose parents had passed away, and they had no clue that somebody was filling out applications for absentee ballots for their parents.
So Chuck, this is what I want to do, because I like suspense. We're going to talk about this tonight, and then next week we're going to play those audio recordings.
Okay.
But keep going. Fill them in.
All right. So for example, I talked to one lady who lives in New Orleans and had no clue that somebody had her registered to vote over here. And then I'm talking to these people who tell me about their, it's a hard thing to call somebody up and talk to them about a deceased relative out of the blue. They don't know who you are, and tell them that somebody's registered them to vote. And specifically, like the lady that I talked to in New Orleans, who was alive, but somebody was voting for, or has been voting for, because she's been gone for over 25 years. They're putting her at risk, because if somebody would have thought that it was her that was doing it, they could have charged her with a crime.
Because she's voting in New Orleans also.
Because she's voting in New Orleans also. So that's a crime if she's the one that's doing it. And the way it works in Harris County too is they're not just voting for dead people, as I just mentioned, but they're voting for tons of people that actually live here that don't know they're voting for them. And so what happens?
There's a great possibility that this lady has 2 votes in the last general election, one in Texas and one in New Orleans.
Her legitimate vote in New Orleans, Orleans Parish, and whoever somebody voted for over here. They're voting for a lot of people that don't know they're voting for them, and that they're taking advantage of a lot of elderly people. And what happens is, let's say an elderly person, they vote for it. Well, these ballot harvesters don't wait till the very tail end of the election to turn in these ballots. They do it early. And the reason they do it early is because in Harris County, that second ballot that comes in gets trashed. So who knows how many thousands of people, tens of thousands of people voted in this last election in 2020, and their ballot was trashed, and their vote that was recorded was whoever these other people were voting for.
Okay, Donovan.
Well, let me ask you this, Chuck. I don't know I don't know if you heard about this, but the recent New York City mayor election, they're having problems with that they just said that they did a test ballot or something in the machines, and like it skewed to a certain candidate. And that person, and they're saying they got to do it all over again. There must be some glitch in the machine or something like that. I mean, how easy is it actually to rig an election like that, because once again, the Democrats can't seem to understand, admit or say, why is it that it seems to a lot of people, it's the Democrats that keep getting caught in these election glitches and problems.
Yeah. And so I'll explain that. But first, let me tell, because there's a lot of people, let's put it in the analogy of the Italian mob. Okay. The mob used to be really bad, used to be a problem. There would be people in the neighborhoods, Italian neighborhoods, that would say, well, that's the Italian mob. You know, they're on my side. That I don't care. All right. But those crooks, those mobsters, they were taking advantage of the whole community. But guess who they took the most advantage of? Who they screwed the most? Who they ripped off the most? Who they murdered the most? That was people in their own neighborhood. So in other words, just because there's crooks and you think, well, they kind of vote how I want, you don't know that. And these people are getting in these positions and handing out contracts to their family and friends. They're not handing out contracts to you. So the people they're taking the most advantage of is the people they're supposed to help the most. And so to go back to the machines, like I'd mentioned before, Lena Hidalgo, the child commissioner that we've got,
County judge.
Judge. Sorry. She had touted the how they're gonna have receipts with the new elections coming forward. They're gonna give receipts. You go and vote and you get a receipt. Well, you already get a receipt in a sense. You always get a number, a 4-digit or 5-digit number. Once you go sign in, they give you that number. You take that number, you enter it into your machine, you place your vote, and you enter it. There is a way to go back and track using that number. It's very difficult, but there is a way to do it. Okay. But the problem with receipts is, like I've said, is you go to the convenience store. Let's say you go to the convenience store and the clerk that works there gives you a receipt for what you purchased. You pay cash, he gives you a receipt. You leave. I don't know if he put that cash in his pocket, if he gave it to his friend. I don't know if the owner got that cash. The end destination got that cash. So the receipt, it really doesn't mean a whole lot. Okay. What the problem is the JVC machine. What's happening with that? And so like in New York, what you mentioned was they brought those, I don't know if it's the exact machine, but let's say the JVC machine. So the hard drive, they bring that, they show up to the polling location. It already has votes in it. So let's say I rig it to put 5,000 votes, or let's say I do this. Let's say in the primary, Gary, the three of us are running for an election, okay? Gary knows that he's going to make the final cut. And he says, Donovan's not going to make the final cut. I'll make the final cut. I'll be going against Chuck. He leaves. He has some of his crooks not take votes out of certain areas that he know are strongholds that he gets lots of votes. So let's say he's able to amass 3,300 votes that he doesn't put into the system. Okay, because there's areas where he knows he's going to get 95% of the vote. Okay, those machines come back for the general election against me, or the runoff election. He's already up 3,300 votes before we even start. Now there's supposed to be a system.
Explain. Remember, y'all, I told y'all months ago how they were leaving votes in the machines. Me, Chuck, and Donovan have never had this conversation. We've never had this conversation. I know what they're doing. They're leaving them votes in the machine. Keep going, Chuck.
So there's supposed to be a way that they check the machines going forward into this. But don't trust I mean, how many polling locations do we have? Over 200 or something? I mean, don't trust that they're not going to do this at every polling location. They're just going to do it at the ones they have most control over. So if they get both people in there that are supposed to check this, and they rig it, then I mean, they already jumped ahead in the vote.
We have a comment. I'm gonna put it up. It might cover you up a little bit, Donovan. All right. Let me put it up. LM the third. If Republicans would have won the election, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Honestly, this discussion should have been had in 2000 with Gore and Bush. That's where you're wrong. Why am I talking about votes in a machine? Because there was some votes left in the machine when I ran for election as a Democrat. So what you're telling me spending my hard-earned money, because I only raised $900, that I shouldn't have a problem with election fraud when I know that it happened. But I found out after the fact, but these votes are being left in these machines on purpose. So when you walk out of your home and you see your community look the same way for the last 30 years, then ask yourself what the hell is going on with our election cycles.
And 5-star, wasn't there another candidate, and she was on the show last year with the cute little daughter? Didn't she contest an election that, you know, kind of the same stuff went on?
Yes, no doubt. There were several elections in the last general that were in question. The Maria T. Jackson election against Ellis, it was in question. There were several races that just did not look right, you know. And I'm sorry, y'all, if it's your favorite politician, I'm sorry, but we cannot continue to sit here and act like this does not happen. And it happens every single election.
And I'll mention a couple of things about that. So I can understand a little bit. People say, well, the other people cheated. People are cheating now. Just these people are cheating better. Okay. The problem you have is, so or let's go to the Republicans. Okay. When the Republicans ran the county, there were certain Republicans that knew this cheating was going on in some of these districts. Okay. And you're right. They didn't care. They didn't care because if it was a black neighborhood that they didn't get in hardly any Republican votes, they didn't care that the cheating went on there. That's wrong. They should have done something about it. They should have helped people out in that area and stopped the cheating. They didn't because they didn't care. Okay. All right. But that don't make it right now. In other words, has there been cheating in almost every election in this country since it was founded? Yes. Okay. But to compare, you know, the 1945, like I said before, a football analogy, the championship football team from 1945 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of this year, there's no comparison. The game's gotten better. It's gotten faster. There's better plays. So at some point, everybody has to care about this because it's not a Democrat and Republican thing. Parties don't really mean that much in Washington, D.C. Power and money mean stuff in Washington, D.C.
Say it again.
Okay. Power and money. In other words, Democrats work with Republicans behind the scenes in D.C. Republicans work with Democrats behind the scene in D.C. They just don't like outsiders coming in. Okay. In other words, like Bernie Sanders, how many times is he going to get screwed running for president? Okay. I don't like him. I didn't vote for him. I'll never vote for him. But I don't think that people need to be cheated that do vote for him. Okay. So get your head out of this is Democrat and Republican. It's like Mexico. The parties don't matter in Mexico. The power matters and the money matters in Mexico. The power, the parties can flip. Okay. And at some point, all you end up with is in like Mexico, you have the rich and you have the poor. You don't have anybody in the middle because, as I've said before, middle class, the powerful don't like the middle class. They like the poor. The poor they can use, they can abuse, and they can throw some stuff at and pacify them.
There you go.
Middle class, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, or Asian, they're tough to control because when you're poor, you struggle to make a living. You're working your ass off to feed your family. You don't have luxury time or excess money to start digging in to complaints and problems you have with the power at the top. And
Look,
so
I gotta say this, man. Do you black folk hear what this white man is saying? The white man give a damn about you getting screwed at the polls. Wow.
Well, and like I support the integrity laws they're trying to pass in the legislature. And some people will spout, they'll say, well, this is Jim Crow 2.0, or this is suppressing the black vote. Hey, I don't have a problem with an extra 100,000 black people voting in Harris County. I just don't want 2 ballot harvesters making the decision for 100,000 people that don't vote. Okay. The more black people that vote, the less cheating goes on election wise in their neighborhoods. In other words, they take advantage of people that don't vote. They take advantage of people that don't pay attention. Okay. And so, you know, it happens everywhere, but it just so happens they take advantage of who they think they can take advantage of.
You know, in Australia, it's a law that you have to vote, which, just like you just said, Chuck, the more, if the people that are registered to vote and legally allowed to vote and are registered, if everybody voted, that would cut down on the cheating and the harvesting and all that other stuff. It's the people that don't vote that is kind of being taken advantage of and swaying elections. And when Obama ran, black folks who had never voted before voted in droves. And then you had, you know, Trump, you know, and I can hear what Trump is saying in saying that, hey, you know, I got, you know, more votes than any sitting president. But what he didn't understand was more people, well, I don't know. This is where the question is. Even though more black people voted under Obama and continue to vote, more people voted supposedly according to the numbers. So I can see where he's saying, wait a minute, where are these numbers coming from?
You're talking about Barack Obama when Acorn got caught for ballot harvesting?
Yeah. Wait, is that Democrat? Was that a Democrat? Yes, that one.
You're talking about the group Acorn that had to be disbanded because they got caught doing exactly what Chuck is talking about.
They didn't disband. They just changed their name.
Yeah, they broke up and now
They're called TOP
turned in the TOP, Texas Organizing Project.
Yeah.
But keep going, Donovan.
I you know, and so I can see, and like I said, I don't know. Like I said, you've done some investigating. I'm using basic common sense, but I don't understand why people do not think, or why they call, oh, it's suppression and all that other stuff. Negro, get your butt up and go vote when you're supposed to vote instead of waiting to the last minute.
The scariest thing that's going on right now is SB 7, the voter integrity law issue, because I support the bill also. They want you to believe it's voter suppression. Now, we down here in Harris County, me and Chuck, we in Harris County. We done personally caught the cheating. So I'm going to say this tonight, and I'm going to only say this one time. I've sat in a room and I've watched the ballot harvester take money. Oh, it's real. It's real. Chuck knows it's real. You see what I'm saying? I've watched them take the money to go and play with the ballots. So I need y'all to pay attention. My man on point, man. Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, so if this cheating's not stopped, in other words, it becomes like a kingdom where family members just pass down to the next one. Okay. The Bushes run things for a while. The Clintons run things for a while. Okay. Biden runs things for a while. You kiss the ring, you get in line. You know, it's never a change.
Now, let me ask you a question, Chuck. The lady from New Orleans, who's been gone from Harris County for 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after 10 years of not voting, she should have fell off the voting rolls. Am I correct?
Yes.
Why didn't she fall off, y'all? Because somebody been voting for for the last 26 years. If you don't vote for 10 years, you fall off the voting rolls. That means you got to re-register and all that. But she never fell off. So how did she get to vote if she's been gone for 26 years?
And why would somebody risk this lady getting arrested, elderly lady getting arrested, you know, so they can cheat? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The person at the bottom, Gloria Palmer and her little staff, they make money. Okay. The people at the top, they get power. Guess what? Gloria Palmer and them get cheated because they get crap money. The people at the top get positions of power, and they give money and power down to their relatives and friends. Okay. So who's hung out to dry? Gloria Palmer and her crew, like Tamar Bishop. One of the people that Gloria Palmer had out there working for her is Tamar Bishop. She's got a big old criminal record. Okay. I'm not saying people can't reform and get better after crimes, but I'm saying why, if you worked at a bank, which is less important than the elections, and you worked at a bank and you hired a bunch of criminals to work, there's some of her arrest pictures. You hired a bunch of criminals to work for you. Why would you do that? Unless you plan on stealing from the till.
So this woman, this is 6 arrest pictures of Tamar Bishop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Now go to some of those some of the applications to register to vote, and we'll start looking at some of them. You'll have to tell me, because it's kind of hard for me to see from here what name is on that at the top.
Okay, let me go back in. Hold on a second, Chuck.
No problem.
That would be Brea Jones, Alberta Jones.
Let's see.
That's about as big as I can make it.
All right. Let's go to another one. Hold on. I don't have that one in front of me.
Okay, hold on.
Tell me what one that one is.
I'm trying to see these names.
No problem.
Tommy Bookman.
Yeah. Okay. So Mr. Bookman has been dead. Okay. On there, you'll see that it's signed supposedly by him. He's been dead for 4 or 5 years, and several years.
This is his signature, right?
Yeah. Well, they said that was his signature. He's been dead for 4 or 5 years. I think 5. And before that, several years he was bedridden and couldn't write. And they're voting for him. Okay. And on here, not on this one, but on the other ones, you'll see the witness or the person that helped out is Tamar Bishop. So if you see down towards the bottom, the middle and the bottom, it'll be signed by Tamar Bishop. How did she sign up all these dead people? That's an accident?
But Chuck, the thing is all of the handwriting looks the same.
That's
now,
because
I want people to pay attention to where I got this arrow. I know it's kind of small. It's hard for you to see. I want y'all to look at that. Now look at it on another app. All of this looks the same.
The problem is, so you've got smart people that have come up with the system, okay, and they've handed it down for a long time, but they're not dumb enough to go out and do the groundwork, okay? They're too high and mighty to go do the digging the dirt themselves, okay? Plus, it gives them a little bit of shield to be able to say, well, I didn't know they were doing this. They're putting these people out to dry. So you're paying some person $10 to $15 an hour. I mean, I'm not making fun of people that make that and do legitimate work, but you're hiring these criminals to do this work. They get lazy. They just one right after signature, one right after. They don't work at it. They don't try to work at it because they're doing so many. They're doing thousands.
So my philosophy about criminals may be right. That criminals don't get caught, they get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They get comfortable and they just start doing things and not even thinking about it.
Or they're signing people up at addresses in the house like it's abandoned, or the person hadn't lived there in years.
So let me ask you a question.
They just get lazy.
Let me ask you a question, Chuck, and then I'll let Donovan chime in. Now, once you fill this ballot out, you have to mail it in. Am I correct?
So this is an application. So yeah, they have to mail this
application in, and you have to mail it in.
Mm-hmm.
How
or drop it off?
How coincidental is it to have 50 applications from 50 different people that has the same stamp on it?
Exactly. So
that means you bought a book of stamps. This how dumb they are. You bought a book of stamps and they all look the same and you mail them. Now, didn't they mail an application for somebody that died on the same day?
Mm-hmm. So this is where they'll use the Jim Crow 2.0 excuse. Because what they'll say is, hey, we have to have people out doing this because there's all these elderly people and indigent people that need help. And we're just doing a service for the community. We're sending people out and we don't want you to make it against the law to ballot harvest because we need to help all these people. They don't give a shit about all these people. They're not helping all these people. They're taking advantage of all these people. If you want to make it easier, you make it easier for a relative, a neighbor next door to help out. You don't make it easier for somebody to do 1,000 of these by themselves.
Now, what do they do? I know the machine is running. So is there somebody on the team that goes through the obituaries and watches and writes down who dies on that day and then just takes a list? Do you think, how it would work and how to get those names?
So kind of how it's been going is, think about it like this. So the system in Harris County that they dreamed up and they've been working on, they let's say 2000, they started perfecting it. So every election cycle, they get a little better. So, in 2000, they could do 2,000 votes. 2002, they could do 4,000 votes. So they keep expanding it because you've got a list. And that's why these people are called the dream team, okay? Because they've been doing it for so long, they've got a list. So in other words, if I was to start cheating like this, I have to start from the ground level. I'm not going to be as successful as the dream team, as these people that are out doing this. Okay. And that's what they call them, the little group that does this. Okay. It's like a little mob group. You've got people at the top like Ellis, okay, that are orchestrating this. And then you've got middlemen like Dallas Jones and Gerald Womack. And then you've got the ground teams. You got Gloria running a ground team. You got Evelyn Dupree running a ground team. So, and these people make mistakes and it's starting to come to light.
Now, isn't there supposed to be some kind of watchdog group to watch the elections and to go after these people that do this stuff? Because when you can throw in an application like that of 50 people with almost the same exact signature, isn't that supposed to send up red flags to the people who are supposed to be monitoring these elections?
So yeah, in the past, they had trouble getting some of this in. But once you get enough people in positions, that's why Ellis and a lot of them like certain positions to be filled first. County clerk, there's certain positions, because then you've got the gatekeeper, okay? And for an example, Ellis has been paying some of these precinct judges. He's been buying them washer and dryers, refrigerators. I already know about some of that. I mean, he better wonder about what all he did that's floating out there that people are talking about.
What are some of the penalties for when some of these people are caught? Because like you said, the low-level lady that had 6 arrests, I'm not saying, she's a, criminal. I believe everybody's redeemable. But, what are some of the penalties that these people could face?
So Tomar Bishop and Gloria Palmer face huge risk. I don't know that I can't give you the exact numbers, but they're in felony territory. Some of it is misdemeanors, which that's what the voter integrity stuff they're working on, is to tighten up some of this. I don't know how that becomes, racist, trying to tighten up some of these loopholes. But Gloria Palmer and Tomar Bishop, we've turned this stuff in on what they're doing. Okay, we turned it into the Secretary of State for Texas. They're going to give it to the AG. They're going to work this.
But who did you turn it? Who did you turn it into first?
The Texas Secretary of State.
Did you ever turn it into Kim Ogg?
No, I wouldn't waste my time turning it in Kim Ogg.
Why?
She uses these ballot harvesters. She uses them herself. Why would she would love to find some excuse to put me in jail. She put Thaddeus Jones in jail on some bullshit. They charged him with felonies. The felonies got dropped to misdemeanors because they overreached.
So
okay. So
So you go after people that you really don't have a case on, like Richard Bonton. You
Correct.
go after people like Thaddeus Jones that you don't have a case on, because the bigger cases will camouflage them. Those little bitty cases will cover those up. So that way you don't have to deal with the big cases of Gloria Palmer. You make the people think that Richard Bonton and Damian Thaddeus Jones are just the worst voting criminals in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what people have to realize is, I used to work for the FBI. I know how it works.
I don't give a damn about it.
You can find,
if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it.
You can find almost an excuse to arrest anybody. Okay, there's always an excuse that you can pull somebody over, tail lights out, this or that, and then you can find some excuse if you dig hard enough. If you work hard enough, you can find some excuse to put somebody in jail. Whether or not you convict them, that's another story. But it's easy to find a way to put somebody in jail. You just follow somebody for a little bit. They'll make some mistake. You use that as an excuse. You get 1 or 2 witnesses to claim, swear up and down, this or that happened. They get locked up. Okay. So the interesting part is Thaddeus Jones's attorney has had an audio recording of I forget Dutton. Dutton's chief, campaign chief or whatever she was, ran his office. She was sitting there, they were drinking, and she's bragging about how
they were going to set Thaddeus up.
How they were going to set Thaddeus Jones up after the election. I mean, why would Kim Ogg go along with this?
Now, some of the people that these ballot harvesters work for in Harris County would be like who? Would it be school board representatives, lower level officials? Who are some of the people some of these ballot harvesters work for in Harris County right now?
So they work for tons of people because, like I've said before, there's a lot of people that buy the sausage, but they don't know how it's made. And the problem is they look away and don't want to know how it's made. Well, guess what? We're telling you now how it's made. So that excuse doesn't work anymore. Okay. These people, you get a 10 or 5%, or you're up 30, 40% of your competition, 50% sometimes, just in absentee ballots before the race even starts, I guarantee you better watch out because they're cheating for you. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Wait.
go ahead.
So basically, like, when you look at people who've been in office for 30 years, which is what is statistically impossible by statistics, by generation, it's impossible that these people could win an election by 15% over their nearest opponent, 20% over their nearest opponent. They've been in office since the 1950s or 60s. We're in the 21st century. So this is basically how they pick and choose who they want to stay in certain offices, and you don't see any change in the community.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it goes. And the thing is I'm gonna tell y'all something. The crime in this city is ridiculous. Look at your representation. Your school system is horrible. Look at your representation. Now, the white folk and the Republicans, when they officials go in office, like right now, Greg Abbott can do what the hell he wants. Most of the Republican regime wants him out of office. They want him out of office because he didn't do his job according to them. But on our side, we keep these people in office and they do nothing for us. But it's the way that they stand in office. There is no honesty and integrity in the voting arena. And that's something y'all have to understand. That's something you have to understand, what they are doing. And they're taking advantage of old people and dead people. How in the hell do dead people vote in elections? And those out there saying verify, oh, it's been verified. There's some coming down the pike. And I got a strange feeling Tomar Bishop and Gloria Palmer going to be facing multiple counts. And guess what happens then? Those old ladies ain't going to jail because they going to tell on everybody and their mama. Watch what I tell you. They're going to tell on everybody and their mama. They caught. Now, the good thing about the state of Texas, the Attorney General, you tell me, Chuck, the FBI, they ain't showing up until they got you. Once they got you, they got the case. It's done.
Yep.
So this is why the Democratic machine pushes back against ID. They don't want people to have ID. I mean, why wouldn't you need an ID to check out a library book? Don't
you need a damn ID to get your child a lunch card at school?
Yeah.
Don't you need an ID to get a library card at the Houston Public Library? Don't you need an ID to get them fucking food stamps? Don't you need an ID to get your Social Security card? Stop the BS.
Well, and what does that say about the people that are saying, say, well, the black neighborhood or the Hispanic neighborhood, they can't figure out how to get a driver's license. They can't figure out how to do this. They don't have the internet. You know, they can't do all this. Who's the racist? The person that's saying that this neighborhood is not as sophisticated or smart as us.
Special ed
they
neighborhood.
can't get this done. Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, like I wouldn't put up with that.
Chuck,
they said, well, you're too dumb to figure out how to do this or that.
Chuck and Donovan, did they need an ID to get a PPP loan?
No, I think they did. Yeah, they did. They had the ID to do them.
Can get an ID for anything else but not to vote. That's I can't go to a city council meeting without an ID.
Well, and what they're doing is these people are using their connections in the media to speak for these communities. They don't go into these communities and start asking people, say, oh, do you have an ID? Do you know how to get an ID? Do you have the internet? They don't go there and do that. They just stand back in their areas and go, nah, let me talk for these people. So I don't think that if you went into some of these neighborhoods that they said, oh, well, they don't have driver's licenses, they don't know how to work the internet, they don't have the internet. If you go talk to them, they'll tell you otherwise. They'll say that's bullshit. I can't. And so people, these politicians are running around using that excuse. And one of the biggest factors is, okay, so with Republicans, they'll claim, oh, racism, that'll shut up a lot of white Republicans. They'll get scared. You throw that out. Okay. And they'll back down. And then they also use it in their own neighborhoods because they want to shut down the argument. They don't want to have to defend why can't you have ID to vote? Why can't you have this? Why can't you have that? They don't want to make that argument. They just want to say, well, it's racist. Don't just trust me, it's racist. Gary, don't look in this closet. There's a boogeyman in there and it's racist. So don't look in this closet. I mean, that's the tactic they're using. Instead of explaining, what are you hiding in that closet? What's going on?
I would like to ask those out there that's watching us, if you feel like SB 7, the big law that they're working on right now, is racist, how many of y'all have actually read the law? How many of y'all have actually read the bill? The issue is, y'all, the bill is what it is. They have a problem with the criminal penalties that have been put in the bill. They have a problem with the criminal penalties because now if they get caught, they're going to jail. Your local DA can't help you this time because it's going to be investigated by somebody totally different. Now, I've been a poll worker. You see what I'm saying? I've worked these polls many days. And doing early voting, there is no line. I've never stood in line to vote doing early voting. I go in there, take 5 to 10 minutes to vote. That's it. I've never seen a poll worker attack a voter in a voting poll. But these are the things that they're telling you is happening. But yet they can't show you any audio, any video, none of the things that they're saying. But they want you to believe that it's voter suppression.
We have affidavits from a couple of poll workers, poll watchers, when they were doing the in 2020 at NRG. So Longoria, she's in on this game for Harris County. She was moving boxes into a back room and wouldn't let any of the poll watchers go in there to see what they're doing. So somebody's in there with several boxes full of absentee ballots, and one of her lackeys is in there hidden away with the door shut, and they won't let any poll watcher in there. Okay. These integrity laws are to allow a poll watcher to get in there from the other sides and say, wait a minute, what's going on? Why do you need to be in this room by yourself, hidden with all these ballots? Because guess what? They're shit canning the ballots they figure are not going to help their candidate. And you say, well, they don't know because they hadn't opened up the envelope. Come on. You know from where it came from. 80% this neighborhood, 70% this neighborhood. It's a math thing. You just shit can the ones that you know are more than 50 going to be against your candidate.
So let me surmise this. When this new law goes into effect, and Sheila Jackson Lee gets defeated, all these people that have been long-term type people get defeated. Would that kind of justify the fact that there were shenanigans going on all along?
Mm-hmm. And the good thing is, we don't know if she'll get defeated in the general election or the primary. It's more likely she'd get defeated in the primary if you got rid of the cheating. Whoever wins the primary against her might still lose. The Republican candidate, let's say, is probably still going to lose because the district will vote heavily Democrat, but at least you'll have an honest Democrat in there that didn't cheat to get to that spot. And how refreshing would that be for somebody, their first term in her district, that gets to her district like she owns it, that district gets to go up there and go, you know what, I'm going to bring something back. I'm going to help my district out in a substantial way, not bullshit for my friends.
Yeah,
because I want to get reelected. I want to get reelected.
Now, Donovan, Chuck is in Harris County. Gary Monroe is running for school board. If we can clear the cheating out, Chuck, What you think my chances are of winning?
Oh, I think it's real good.
But if we don't clear the cheating out, it don't matter how much work I do. It don't matter how much money we spend. We are dead on arrival. But if we clear the cheating out, I can bet the house that we dog walk my opponent. We dog walk them. I got the name recognition. I've done the work. Nobody knows who this woman is. You see what I'm saying? But if we don't clear the cheating out, when the machines open up, she 2,000-3,000 votes ahead, I'm dead.
Yeah, you know, we always say that here in California. You have these people you have never heard of before in the community. You've never seen them before, and they come into the district or the area, and they overwhelmingly win these elections. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, this person hasn't even been here a year, and they're sitting on city council. You know, and you're like, how did the numbers, you know, the Democratic Party back them or what, you know what I mean? But the numbers don't make sense. And so when is this law supposed to take effect down there in Texas?
They're going to have a special session in July. And so you watch, it'll be all this crying and hollering. It's racism. It's racism. Ignore that. Look into the facts.
Let's see this here. When they had the first set of hearings, I showed up at the hearing. I sat there from 8 that morning until 5 that evening. And I watched those people in that committee grind the people that were testifying. I mean, they ate them up. And at 5 o'clock, they called my name. And I said, I'm for this bill. And I challenged everybody in there. If you want to play with me, I can show you better than I can tell you. Chuck, am I right or wrong? I didn't get asked one question.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Because you came in there with experiences, knowing that this is happening. It's stunned them.
My thing now, if they will allow us to testify again, I ain't coming to talk. I'm coming with a booklet of nothing but evidence. And I'm coming with a flash drive because we have video. And I want you to, I guarantee you, I will challenge everybody on that committee. I dare you to stick it in your computer right now. Because you say it's no voter fraud. But do we have video, Chuck?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Play with me if you want.
And so you have to ask yourself too, why am I risking my livelihood, risking getting arrested by crooked politicians, getting running the risk of getting killed, exposing this in districts and areas that I don't live. I mean, I live in Harris County, but I don't live in where the majority of this cheating goes on, in these districts where it goes on.
I mean, you know, Curtis Chavez says exactly that. He says, yep, neither party. Biden is a racist asshat, equal, if not worse than Trump. That's his opinion. This is not about Trump. It's about the voice of the people, of we the people. If we don't realize that, we're toast. You know, yeah. and that's what it's about. It's not a black or white issue. It's about, we keep claiming how great this democracy is, but what good is a democracy if the very people who give the authorization to be governed, word actually means nothing, and certain people decide who are the winners and the losers?
Well, Chuck, here's a question. So people can understand how serious this is when you say you're risking your life. Mm-hmm. Can you tell them what almost happened to you? Now, if this ain't that serious, y'all, why did this happen to Chuck? Tell them what happened to you, Chuck.
Yeah, so shortly after, several days after I came out publicly going after Ellis for this corruption, okay, a guy named Lance Gilliam gives me a call, you know, because I get calls all the time for PI work, all right? A guy named Lance Gilliam calls me up out of the blue. I ain't never talked to this guy. Says, hey, I got this surveillance job for you. You do surveillance? Yeah. What to specialize in? Hey, I've got this abandoned apartment complex. I got one lady that claims she's injured, lives there. I need you to go do surveillance on her. You're going to have to work long hours. It's an abandoned apartment complex, so it's only her there. You got to be careful. And you're going to put her to bed, which in surveillance lingo means you're going to work till late night hours till the lights go off in there. Okay. Well, it just so happened Lance Gillum works with Ellis's wife in this realty business. Okay. That company has been bilking the taxpayers of Harris County with money that's been funneled in projects and business that's been funneled from Rodney Ellis and through his connection.
Look, let me see if I got this right for the people. You get a call from Lance Gilliam because you've been investigating Rodney Ellis. You've been doing that on your own. But you get a call from Lance Gilliam, who's in business with Ellis's wife. But he don't know that you know it.
Yep.
Keep going.
So I recorded the conversation. I was recording it. And then I thought about it for a little while. I called somebody to confirm that that's who that was. In other words, this wasn't no accident. They send me out to a bad part of town, rough part of town where a lot of crime happens. Crime statistics are high there. I'm sitting in a car by myself watching some apartment in an abandoned apartment complex. There ain't that many cars there. I'll be easy to find. I mean, I ain't stupid. They were gonna pay some crackhead to come up and whack me from behind.
Okay. So one day, I think you had went to a restaurant or something. Am I correct? Or maybe you were at the office. What happened to your truck, Chuck?
Yeah. So before that, I was at a restaurant. Somebody smashes my back window out, and I had a laptop bag under. I had a laptop bag under.
There you go.
I had a laptop bag under a floor mat, so it wasn't like you could easily lean in and see through the tinted windows. Okay, they smashed my window out. They didn't go for the gun that I had up front, which wasn't visible either. They didn't go for any cash that I had in the console up in front. They went straight for that laptop bag.
Wow. Just so happens the laptop wasn't in the bag.
No. Just some paperwork from
all of this happens in a matter of days. In a matter of days. So the Lance Gillum call, I heard the call. I heard the call. So it's nothing this man's saying that's untrue. Keep going, Chuck.
Yeah, so I mean, why are they working so hard to keep me from exposing this? Because they're doing honest stuff? Because I'm a threat. Guess what? After he couldn't get me killed, guess what Ellis did? He went and hired some high-priced attorneys. Rusty Hardin and some of these other people. I don't know, Dick DeGuerin, Rusty Hardin, some of these people he went and hired. Why is he wasting money on these attorneys? Some people say, well, he might have been doing it for the African art deal. No, that was almost a year before. He did this shortly after I started going after it. Well, he better be more.
You know what, y'all? I just feel like the odd man out. People attacking Chuck, breaking in his truck, all that. And I got personalized plates on my car. So you can see my name, 5-Star Jen, on the plate. And won't none of you suckers try me. You go after Aubrey. You went after Chuck. Why y'all won't try me? I'm going to tell you like this here. You better try Jesus. Don't try me. Because I ain't finna play the game like Chuck and Aubrey gonna play it. They have not bothered me at all. Y'all think about that. Yeah, because I know what y'all be saying amongst yourself. Monroe goons got goons. You damn right I do. And they got goons too.
So but with all of this things that we have, I mean, how soon do you think we could see indictments or even the case being taken by the state or the city or, you know, whatever? How soon can we see things starting to roll?
I don't know if it was my connection or what. That didn't come through very well. I apologize.
Oh, so how soon can we see that, you know, these cases start taking effect and start growing? Like if they're going to be indictments or things that are going to happen. I mean, are we going to wait till after the election or maybe before the election? Or
well, my hope is before the next election. But the way I see it is, it don't come before this election. That's fine. I'm gonna get more dirt.
Because usually the people that get elected, they seem to go out of their way to bury a situation that they might be implemented or they benefited from. You know,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and as far as like with Ellis, what he needs to realize is like this: I've been shot, stabbed, bit, run over. He better bring something else to the game, because I'm not stopping because of his shit.
So let me ask you this here. I don't think you really answered it for the people. Who are some of these people that these ballot harvesters work for in this game? Who are some of the major politicians?
So for instance, Gloria Palmer's group, these votes, who did they help? They helped Boris Miles. They helped Ellis. They helped Sheila Jackson Lee and a couple of other politicians in some smaller positions. So in other words, Gloria Palmer was working on the Northeast side.
Mm-hmm.
So over there, Tidwell and Holmes and all those places, they were running through these neighborhoods, stealing votes left and right.
I was going to ask you something. So that's over there. And some of the other people that they've worked for have been school board representatives. They've been the county clerk. I think that's Ann Bennett. Mm-hmm. All these people use the same people. The DA. That's why when I found what I found, you know, when we did the digging on a city councilwoman, it was sent to the DA. They never responded to me. Never responded.
I took stuff initially in 2020. I took stuff to the task force, the county clerk, the district clerk, the DA, constable precinct 1. I mean, it's like showing up with crimes that all your kids did. You ain't gonna give that to nobody. You're gonna hide that shit.
Well, I tell you what. Okay, so if they the dons, the politicians are the dons. If that's the way the mob works, who's the underboss?
So the underboss for this is Dallas Jones and Gerald Womack. They're the ones that have been out managing, you know, running this system, so they can put a little distance between the people that pay them.
Now, if Chuck is wrong about what he's saying about the ballot harvesters, Evelyn Dupree's team was fired mysteriously by all the judges who campaigned that she was working during the general. I know that for a fact because I had their poll workers calling me because some of them hadn't gotten their money. Now, some of these politicians, and I'm going to be honest, they didn't even know the history of these people. They were told to hire them. They hired them. And some of these people really didn't know. But they were fired by all of these judges in the middle of early voting. So now we're going to polls, Chuck. You going to polls, I'm going to polls. Donovan, no poll workers at the polls. Mm-hmm. How do you run a campaign with no poll workers? Because they already knew what they had done. Nobody passing out cards at the polls. Polls are empty. I'm normally at Sunnyside multipurpose. It's 15, 20 poll workers. I would go through there and be 2.
Yeah, and think about what I said earlier too. These ballot harvesters don't wait till the end of the election to turn in all of their ballots. They do it early.
Yeah.
So in other words, firing these ballot harvesters is, some of it's only symbolism because the damage is already done early on, first couple of weeks. And so, I mean, I can have some sympathy for some of these judges that got in these positions and didn't know it was happening. But that's no excuse to continue and allow these people to cheat.
So what we gonna do is, in the next election, even though I'm running, I'm gonna be going from poll to poll. Even when we're out early, you know, because the election is in November. So we gotta float, man. We gotta be in the community. I'm gonna be watching to see who's actually working the communities, who's knocking on the doors, what team are you with? And when early voting starting, I'm gonna be on your ass like stank on shit. I'm promising you that. And I'm telling every one of you politicians out there, every one of you underbosses, I don't give a damn who you are. If you stick your nose in my race, I promise you, you're gonna think your ass Bill Cosby because you ain't getting out in 2 years. Stay out my race. Win, lose, or draw. If I lose, I want to lose fairly.
Yeah.
But
it's like
you're not going to cheat me. Not this time. It's not going to happen.
It's like a good UFC fight. I don't mind watching a good UFC fight. My guy gets clobbered, okay? Or it goes to the wire and then they lose, okay? I don't mind that. But I don't want to be watching a UFC fight and paying a lot of money when this shit's already rigged and the candidate's already chosen who's going to win the UFC fight.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Mike Tyson, Peter McNeil, you know, the bum of the week. You know, you're paying pay-per-view prices and it's over in less than a minute. Yeah. So and this stuff is going on all over Harris County.
Yeah. Well, think about it like this too. If you're going to rig stuff, I mean, like if you're going to rob a place to get cash, you're not going to waste your time with the little taco stand next to you. You're going to go to the Family Dollar or to Walmart or somewhere where there's lots to be had. Okay? That's the reason they do it in big cities.
And yet I'm looking for something for y'all.
And yet the people suffer. And this is why we're bringing this to light, because you know, you see a lot of people in our generation, Chuck, we're kind of sitting here saying, I'm talking for Black folks in general. You know, the average age of the Congressional Black Caucus is 73 years old. These people are my parents' age, and they're still in power. And then you're looking at the neighborhoods, nothing's getting better. They keep telling us to vote. They keep telling us to do all these things. And yet nothing's getting better. I can't blame the white guy when the person that's representing me looks like me. And there seems to be no changes. And that's why I think something like this is good to bring out to light, because it's making people really think and kind of say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, because if my neighborhood looks like a damn ghetto and it looks like goddamn Beirut, and this lady's been there for 20, 30 years, something is wrong. And then if it is a fair election, like I said, statistically, I'm a math guy, numbers guy, it does not make any sense. Okay, I'll give you a better example. Here in California, in La Jolla, in Anaheim, in Beverly Hills, where there's a big, rich white population, there has never been a representative that has lasted any longer than 8 years. How? They just move on to the next representative. He does what, that person does their time. They move to the next one with better ideas, and they do this and they do that. I've never seen politicians, only in the Black community have I seen politicians that will sit there for 30 and 40 years, and a community that was once white, not saying that means better, but I'm just saying, like Baltimore. I used to go to flying to Baltimore with the military in the late 80s. It was beautiful, that Riverwalk and stuff. And then when Kwame Mafuse got in there, and then what's his name, the last 20 or 30 years, it just went to hell in a handbasket. And you're kind of wondering, they want to jump on Trump for saying that it's a shithole, but is he right?
Well, and also think about it like for people in Harris County. What places usually look the best or have the most improvements and things done to it? That's places where the election is tight and where it flips back and forth. It can flip Democrat, it can flip Republican, a Republican area where not the same Republican gets it each time. The areas that still are stagnant and have problems are the places where these 70, 80-year-old people have been sitting there since they were 30 years old running that place, like a fiefdom, like they own that. That's their spot.
Y'all keep talking. I got something I'm pulling up for y'all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I always wondered that, because it's like, and the Democratic Party always is telling us as Black people, oh, the Republicans are evil and this, that, and that's just not true. And then looking at some of the elections down there in Texas, you're just like, oh my God, what is going on? Well, you got a lot of Californians moving to Texas, which is starting to turn it blue, but still, you know what I mean? It's
So let me ask Chuck a question, Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
When you go in to vote, Chuck,
mm-hmm.
what is the process from the time you walk into the door, you get to the table? What do they ask you to do?
Yeah, so you come in there and they ask your name. They send you to the section, L through Q or whatever. You go in there, you go to your section, you give your ID.
What do they do with your ID?
They scan your ID.
And then they do what with it?
Then they give you a little note. They give it back to you.
Okay, so you get your ID back, right? And they give you the little sticker with the number on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They tell you to go to that machine, go pick your machine. You
mm-hmm.
put the number from the stick in there. But they give you your ID back, right?
Yeah, it's within seconds. They look at it.
So let's stop right there. Because for y'all out there, this is what we found at the Northeast Multi-Service Center when they were doing early voting. What that look like? What that look like on their counter? That's a stack of IDs. Hold on, Chuck. Didn't you just say that they give you your ID back?
Yes.
So how would they end up with a stack of IDs sitting on the table?
Because some people are going to vote twice, and some people that are not registered to vote are going to get the vote.
So here's what they were doing with the IDs when I got to Northeast Multipurpose Center. When somebody would come through and drive through voting, they would come from outside, go to the table, get the IDs, take them back to the car, and let them vote. So y'all out there telling me that it's not voter fraud in Harris County? How did a stack of 30 IDs end up on this table? And the guy that found it was a poll worker who was an off-duty Arcola police officer. Do you know that they called the constables on him and had this man escorted from the property? And when I showed up, they called the police on me. Because I'm like, what the hell are y'all doing over here? So you tell me. There it is right there on the table. Is that the same IDs we saw in the general election, Chuck?
Mm-hmm. And so
you got the affidavit from the officer from Arcola, am I correct?
Right. And it was given to the task force, the supposed task force. They didn't do shit with it. Their excuse for not doing shit with it was they claimed, what they were doing was they were going and getting IDs from some of the people that were in their cars in line for the drive-through vote.
Okay, so I'm not.
That's like 40 IDs. That's like 40 IDs. They didn't have 40 cars at any one time lined up in that line.
Donovan is there laughing. So they say they were going to get the IDs from the people. You must have had a motherfucking party bus to have 40 people in that motherfucker, because the most you're going to put in the average car is 4 to 5. You got 30 IDs stacked on the table. That lie don't even sound right. But when I got there, people asking, how could they escort me off of public property? Say, man, them people wanted me away from them. And when I went there, I asked for the presiding judge. That's who I was supposed to ask for. And when she came, she had an attitude. And I'm like, what are y'all doing with these IDs? What are you talking about? You see what I'm saying? What are you talking about? I've always told people that Donald Trump, on some aspects of the game, he was right on the money. His delivery was fucked up. His delivery was fucked up. They doing this shit all over the country. I just want to make sure they see it again, Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
What's that ID we found?
And one of the things with these new laws that'll stop that bullshit was they wouldn't have been able to kick the poll watcher out. Had these laws been in effect during that time, they wouldn't have been able to kick him out. And this is a black police officer.
Is if he violates the law.
And this is a black police officer. This ain't some redneck from Northeast Harris County coming over here looking into this stuff.
So I'm still trying to figure it out, because when I go in to vote, they give me my ID back. How do you end up with a stack of 30 IDs when you say you got them from the cars? You don't have that many cars lined up to get 30 IDs. Your vote is supposed to be sacred. That's why when you go into the voting polls, they have your booth covered. In a car, your vote is not sacred. Donovan, you seem like you got it on your mind, man. What you got to say?
I mean, it's just unbelievable, the stuff that goes on. But see, they only do this when they are comfortable enough to know that they're dealing with a population that is not aware, don't care, and just don't give a damn. And they just been getting away with it and not being held accountable. That's why, I mean, I'm not a criminal or anything like that, but to blatantly put out IDs and not think that somebody's going to question it or whatever is just, to me, it's like, wow, this is just amazing that the people in Harris County, wherever this took place, that they are so comfortable doing what they're doing that they're not even concerned. And that's, to me, a very telling thing and a attack on democracy when it's in itself, when they can blatantly just do that and have no fear of any kind of repercussion.
Not one Democratic candidate said a goddamn thing about them IDs that we found.
And what people need to think about too is like this: the DA's office and Constable Precinct 1 investigated this, right? Okay, I'm not blaming everybody at the constable's office. I'm not saying everybody at the constable's office is a crook. I'm not saying everybody at the DA's office is a crook. But whoever's running those places puts up this sham investigation. So this wouldn't even pass for a fucking investigation. So let's put it to this way. Maybe you like some of the people they cheated for. Guess what? One of these people they cheated for, they drunk drive and run over one of your kids or run over one of your family members. You think the DA's office and the constable's office that investigate this, if they give it to the same crooks, I'm not, like I said, I'm not blaming everybody in that office, but I'm blaming some of the people that run it and organize it. You don't think they'll cheat to make sure that no crime is done to one of these politicians that kills one of your kids? They'll cover that up. If they'll cover this up, they'll cover that up.
Chuck, we're on a roll right now. I put up the affidavit by the poll watcher that found this. If y'all don't mind, can I read this real quick? He said, "My name is Raymond T. Stewart." Can y'all see that? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I appear in person before me today and stated under oath, my name is Raymond T. Stewart. I'm above the age of 18, and I'm fully competent to make this affidavit. I'm a 30-plus year veteran Texas police officer. I'm a volunteer poll watcher for candidate Andre Hines. On 10/13/2020 at 8:40, I arrived at the polling location, Northeast Multipurpose Center. Hold on a second. I gotta move it up a little bit, y'all. I informed the staff I was a poll watcher for a candidate and had my paperwork. So he had every right to be there. I asked for the precinct judge to sign my required paperwork so I could start my work. The precinct judge is identified as April Elmore Gibson, and she was there but refused to sign my paperwork, and she instead directed me to someone inside named Madonna. Madonna signed the paperwork, but not in the designated signature line. I then began my work as a poll watcher. I observed several oddities, but the most concerning was a table in between the sign-in tables 1 and 3. At that table was a large stack of IDs. Hold on a second. This is 8:40 in the morning. 8:40 in the morning, y'all. A large stack of Texas driver's license. The staff would come inside from the drive-through voting booth and scan a driver's license from somebody outside and get a ticket and return outside. But let's go here. Let me open it up. Okay. So now we'll go down a little bit, y'all. I'm going fast. Just bear with me, Chuck and Donovan. Sometimes a staff member would search through the stack of driver's licenses on the table, then scan it, receive a ticket, and also go outside to the drive-through booth. Hold on, I thought they were sending in the driver's licenses. Ain't that what they said, Chuck?
That's what the constable's office claimed.
But this man, who's a poll worker, said that they would search through the stack of driver's licenses on the table, then scan it. I quickly became suspicious that they were committing a crime by having the unattended driver's license just sitting on the table, and that possibly voting crimes were being committed using these forms of IDs. Also during this time frame, an employee of the Harris County Attorney's Office came by and he conversed with April, but nothing changed and he departed. Since I was there as a poll watcher and not there as a police officer, I just continued to observe and considered how to deal with this situation. At that time, a precinct 1 constable arrived at the polling location, and he happened to be somebody I knew professionally. I spoke with the deputy outside and informed him of what I had observed. He was amazed and asked for evidence, which I provided to him. Unfortunately, our conversation was overheard by a staff member in the parking lot. The deputy went outside of the polling location at that time. At this time, the driver's licenses were removed and hidden from the table. The deputy departed the area, apparently to consult with election task force and supervisors. I spoke with him several times that day via phone in person regarding my observations. At 1 p.m., April commanded me to leave the polling location because I observed and collected evidence, and she informed me that I could not do it. This is a police officer. He's going to jeopardize his pension to tell a lie on the affidavit. So when I got wind of it, I went over there. Now, you notice during the course of that, he never said he approached the voter. Nothing. Yeah. But this is what they're saying that poll workers do.
Yeah, their excuse for not wanting the law to make it tougher to get rid of poll watchers is that, well, some of these poll watchers go and intimidate. They stand around and intimidate some of the black voters. Like some big white guy my size is standing behind the black voter and intimidates them so they don't vote or they vote Republican or something. This was a black police officer, and he never once confronted any of the individuals that were voting. His problem was with the staff that was cheating.
Well, here
I'm looking for something for y'all.
Yeah, real quick, here in California, we had a lot of corruption going on, and we had all this evidence, just kind of like what you guys had there, and we sent all this evidence to the DA, and for some reason, it was never enough for him to make a move on it. He got it in file, he got it in evidence, but he didn't want to make any charges, right? Mm-hmm. Come to find out, we look at the 460s, which is his donation list of his donations, his campaign donations. Come to find out, some of the very people that we wanted him to investigate had donated to his campaign. Until this very day, this man has sat on all of that evidence because he is, benefited to the people who donated to his campaign. So that could be another big problem down there in Harris County too, where you got these people all in bed together.
So LM the third, you said, wow. I told you just sit back and watch, baby. We got everything we need. So now, how can I stand in front of a committee and say that this is voter suppression when we've caught you cheating? This is not voter suppression. To some degrees, some things in the bill may go a little bit too far. But as we know, when they write bills, that shit happen all the time. So here's the, you know, it's two things that make me confused, Donovan and Chuck. One, where did they hire Jimmy Hoffa? I'm still trying to figure out where they hid Jimmy Hoffa. And then two, if you could walk out the room to stop SB 7, why didn't you walk out the room to stop the gun laws that you're complaining about right now? The open carry law. You didn't walk out the room because you played politics. You cut the deal behind the scene like you were supposed to do because y'all are two wings on the same bird. And that's how politics work. Democrats work with Republicans, Republicans work with Democrats. So if they would have walked out on the gun bill, they'd have killed SB 7 at the same time. But they cut the deal on the gun bill, so they was good with that. So now you got to go with the big thing. And now everybody's mad at Harold Dutton because he didn't walk out of the room. You know why Dutton didn't walk out? Because Dutton played the game for real. And what Dutton did in front of America by not walking out is what you Democrats do every day behind the scenes. You play the game behind the scenes. And Dutton wasn't finna mess up his relationships with people that he need to help him support him on some bills because you playing a game with black people and poor people in general. You shitting on us and you think we don't know. You hate the war zone. You hate Chuck. You hate Donovan. You despise me. But guess what? We on your ass. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a little passionate tonight.
Yes, but you know, in conclusion, everybody, if we do not get a hold of this democracy and put it on the right track so that people who want to run, because it's gotten to a point now, you can't even run as just a regular American who just wants to give back to your community because it takes a certain amount of money. They're keeping certain people out because you don't have the money. So if we don't get this train back on the track, this country is headed over the hill. And it's going to be so sad because now you're going to have the crooks actually running everything. We're going to be, it's like Chuck said, this is going to be the Godfather Part 4 International, basically.
LM says, to be honest, this feels like the tip of the iceberg. My friend, it really is. It really is the tip of the iceberg. It really is. They slipping, man. They getting sloppy.
I have little to no resources, and the people that I'm working with have little to no resources. So, you know, we're only getting started. We're chipping away at this the best we can. But the problem is that we ain't stopping. I ain't stopping.
I think it's time, Chuck, to go get the secret weapon for the next show. Colleen Vera.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, she got a couple of you black politicians in Harris County by the balls. And you ain't finna get away. You ain't gonna get away. So this is what I recommend to y'all. Stop thinking that you're not gonna get caught. Because some of y'all are already caught and you just don't know it. Some of y'all, I think, Chuck, I'm going to call Colleen tonight and see if Colleen will come on next week. We'll play the audio from the ladies that you talk to, especially the lady from New Orleans, who's going to tell y'all she ain't lived in Houston for 26 years. And the reason she ain't fall off the voting rolls is because they've been voting for her. Mm-hmm. Dead people voting on the day that they died? Man, come on, cut that out, man. What you think, Chuck? You think I ought to call Colleen?
Yes.
Because you know what, y'all? Donovan, tell your cat, Colleen is the one that got the smoking gun. And guess what? She's very well insulated. You can't get to her. You can't get to her. Don't even try it. You're wasting your time. Colleen Vera has cracked that tip of that iceberg you talking about, LM. Oh, she didn't crack it. Some of you motherfuckers finna go down like the Titanic, man. Final thoughts, Donovan.
Every time I think I'm being out of the game, they pull me right back in. I mean, this is something out of a movie. I mean, it's just it's crazy, it's insane. But people, if we don't get this stuff right, I mean, the United States is going to be no better than what's going on in Russia, where you got the oligarchs running the show, the people with the money. Your vote's not going to matter. How you feel is not going to matter. You know, we need to break this up and make this country back to the way it's supposed to be. For the people, by the people, all that good stuff that they say it's supposed to be. So, yeah, it is the start of the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg. But Jesus, man, if this is just the tip of the iceberg, I can't wait until we get past the dentin. You know, once you get past the enamel of your tooth and you get to the dentin where it starts hurting. Mm-hmm. This is going to be ugly, because I have a really, really bad feeling. Some of your favorite politicians, some of the people that you thought were looking out for you, you are going to find, in order to play the game, to be a professional politician, you got to get a little dirty, and they're doing it willingly. It ain't like somebody's putting a gun to their head. They're doing it willingly.
Final thoughts, Chuck.
And at the end of the day, it's not about what politician, whether it's your favorite politician in office. The office is so they represent the people in their district, in their area. If they can cheat, they don't represent you. They represent the money they spent to cheat. That's who they represent. They either represent their interest because they spent their money, or they got money from some big company or big corporation. They spent the money to cheat for them. So they represent them.
I'm going to close it out by saying that it's tough to go after some people that, you know, back in the day I probably idolized. But I'm going to be fair with you guys. I will spank a Republican's ass the same way I spank a Democrat. Chuck will do it with his eyes closed. This ain't about Democratic or Republican to us. This is about you stealing our democracy. And you thinking, see, you politicians, and then I'm going to end this, are worse than old school drug dealers. You know why I say that, Donovan and Chuck? You know how a lot of them got caught? Because they didn't know when to stop. Mm-hmm. They didn't know when they won. So y'all out there that want to keep doing it, keep doing what you're doing. But I guarantee you, when your ass sitting in that federal penitentiary, or you sitting in that back room and you got to cut that deal to tell on the rest of them, you going to sing better than Eddie Kane. Trust me when I tell you. Because when you're facing 40 years, your ass think you're going to sing in the soprano note. Or either don't drop the soap, motherfucker. Say, man, we the best in the business Wednesday night. You know what it is, man. Dirty Politricks. Next week, we bringing the smoking gun. And you folks better go and get your ass somewhere and hide. You better stop, but you don't have to. I hope you don't, so we can bust your ass. On behalf of my good friend, Donovan Sadiq, my good friend Chuck Marler, I am the 5-star general. And until next Wednesday, we'll see you. But tomorrow night on the War Zone, the money man gonna be in the building.
Thank you.
You know, both sense is the best sense. Because sometimes you got to pay for what you learn.